Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. Redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed through his infinite mercies. His child and forever I am. Redeemed, redeemed. Redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed. His child and forever I am. Good morning. It's Friday morning. Hope you've had a fantastic week so far. Hope you've been blessed in different ways this week. How would you like to? How would you like to have a supernatural sort of protection around your head, so tightly around your head that it would even sort of keep your mind safe from the mental assaults that we get from Satan? I don't know. Maybe you don't realize, or maybe you do, but if you are a saved child of God, then you've already been given this kind of safeguard, this kind of protection from Satan's attacks on our minds. Paul talks about it in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 17 specifically. He writes about the helmet of salvation. He says, and take the helmet of salvation. Now, in this passage, he's already talked about a full suit of spiritual armor and each of the different pieces and what they're supposed to do. But I want to focus just on the helmet of salvation this morning. He uses that illustration, and when we think about during that time, Roman soldiers would have worn helmets, and so there's kind of a sort of I guess underlying illustration there from a Roman soldier's helmet when Paul talks about the helmet of salvation. The Greek word there that is used that we translate into the word helmet is actually from two different words. One word that means around, and the other word means for the head. So around the head, and kind of indicates or denotes a piece of armor that fits tightly around the head. The Roman soldier's helmet was it's kind of fascinating. It was usually very fancy looking, and sometimes dependent on rank of the soldier, but would be kind of fancy looking. Sometimes would have engravings on the helmet, and sometimes a lot of them would look like a real piece of artwork. They would be decorated with depictions of animals. Sometimes maybe an elephant or a horse or a lion, things like that, but very intricate at times on the Roman soldier's head. And then again, depending on rank and things, they would have a huge plume of bright colored horsehair, sometimes maybe feathers, on the top of the helmet. And if it was designed to be worn in a public ceremony of some kind, sometimes that plume would be very long in the back. Again, just so you would know who that soldier was or what his rank was as he was out in public. And so, and the helmet was generally made of something like bronze and equipped with pieces of armor on the sides that came down that were designed to protect the cheeks and the jaws. And it was an extremely heavy piece of armor to wear, and so the inside would have been padded with some kind of padding or sponge or something to soften the weight on the soldier's head. It was so strong, it was so massive and so heavy that it couldn't be pierced by a battle axe or a hammer or a sword, and it protected that soldier's head. And the thing is, it would be really hard to walk past a soldier wearing a helmet like this and not notice him. Excuse me, because it was so intricate and so fancy and massive and bright colored, and so it was sort of made to be that way. It was made to be noticeable, so you would know it, without a doubt, that was a Roman soldier. So why would Paul compare a piece of weaponry like this, like a Roman soldier's helmet, to salvation? Well, it's because salvation is the most gorgeous, the most intricate, elaborate gift that God's ever given us. And He's given lots of gifts and lots of blessings, but salvation is one of the most important. And that's why Paul calls it the helmet of salvation. He likened it to the helmets that were worn so that everybody would notice a Roman soldier. And so he's telling us something important here by making that comparison. When a person's confident of his salvation, when he walks confidently in the powerful reality of all that salvation means for him, it's a noticeable thing. People notice that. They notice that confidence and want to know why. But why did a Roman soldier need a helmet that wraps so tightly around his head? As the Greek word that is translated there indicates. It was essential because the opponent of a Roman soldier would often carry a short-handled axe called a battle axe. And when a battle axe was used, oftentimes heads literally rolled from the blow or the strike of a battle axe. And so if the Roman soldier didn't have a helmet on when he went out to fight and have it wrapped tightly around his head to protect everything, he could be very sure that he would likely lose his head. And so it was not also just a beautiful piece of weaponry to draw people's attention, but it was a defensive weapon to save that soldier's head. and that's what salvation will do for you and I when we wear excuse me, when we wear it like a helmet on our head. And if we don't walk in all that our salvation entails, it's likely we'll feel the brunt of the enemy's battle axe when he comes to attack our mind and our thoughts and to steal our victory. And so what happens is if we don't wear it tightly around our head the way it's designed, that helmet of salvation, that the enemy, Satan, will come and he will chop away at the blessings of the salvation that we received. He'll try to hack away at our foundation, telling us that healing and deliverance and preservation and soundness of mind are not really part of Jesus' work on the cross, and it's just this barrage of mental attacks. Sometimes we try to do the work of God without making it a priority to walk in the full knowledge of salvation, and what happens is when we do that, we expose our unprotected minds when we're not wearing our helmet to Satan's lies, to his insinuations, and when we place ourselves in a position to be attacked and even deceived at times. It's kind of foolish to think about facing Satan without wearing our helmet of salvation to protect our minds. It's the only way we can be useful. It's the only way we can be successful in the kingdom of God. You see, the devil knows that if he can seize our mind, and if he can fill it with lies, if he can operate in this lofty position in our life, then he can try to manipulate us. He can try to manipulate our emotions. He can try to manipulate our thoughts and our attitudes, and really just wreak havoc in our minds and in our hearts, and begin to steal our joy in life as he deceives us into believing these things that aren't true. And so to protect ourselves from those kinds of attacks, God has given us this gift of the helmet of salvation to wrap tightly around our head and protect us from those attacks. The fact, again, that Paul likens or compares our salvation to a helmet also means that we have to know that our salvation includes inside and out. And so we have to spend time studying what the Bible has to say about our salvation, about deliverance from evil powers, about God's desire to bless and take care of us. Our understanding of all that salvation encompasses has to be ingrained in our minds, and when our minds are convinced of those realities, and our minds are trained and taught to think correctly in terms of our salvation, then that knowledge becomes a helmet in our lives. Because at that point, it doesn't matter how hard Satan tries to hack away at our spiritual foundations. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt what Jesus' death and resurrection did for us, and so he can hack away, and we remain protected and prevent him from attacking our minds as he did in our past before salvation. So I want to encourage you, if you are a saved, baptized, born-again believer, wear that helmet of salvation with confidence and allow it to protect your mind from the lies that Satan uh, throws at us and hacks away at us with each and every day. If you're not a baptized believer, a saved believer, then I would encourage you to call the church office and talk to one of the ministers here, and we'd be happy to set up a time to study with you about that and answer any questions that you have. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great weekend this weekend, and we'll see you again. We'll see you again next time we get to be together.